Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here. Again, thank you very, very much for taking the time to tune into today's episode. And today I'm delighted to be joined by manifestation and mindset coach Suzan Peltekian, who is here to discuss her journey that took her from real estate into coaching and a whole bunch of things in between. Suzan is a super passionate lover of life, people, travel and adventure, transformation, contribution, service, food, fitness and fun, and of course making a difference for people. Suzan believes that she has been placed on this beautiful journey to help you live a happier and more authentic life full of purpose and meaning. Suzan believes the biggest real estate that everyone owns is the one between their two ears, and that she can guide anyone to co-create their life by design by using their marvellous mind more effectively. Suzan is an avid reader, a fast learner, a dedicated professional and dedicated to professional development who has done it all, from firewalking to silent meditation retreats to real estate coaching and neuro-linguistic programming. That's easy for me to say. To spiritual healing and everything in between. Suzan is so committed to your success and to serving you to become your best self that she studies it all so that you can drive into your divine, living a life you love, loving the life you live fiercely and passionately. I feel better just reading that bio out. Suzan, thank you very, very much for joining me today.
Oh, you're such a joy. I feel better being in your presence. Thank you so much for having me here today, Gary. And what a fantastic podcast you have. Before you hit there on record, I was telling you, the difference you're making to our mankind. Thank you for who you are.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for saying that. So I did allude on your bio that you have quite a varied journey that's taken you to this point today. We mentioned real estate very briefly there, and I love that the best and most valuable real estate is the real estate between your ears. Yeah. Can you tell me a bit about your journey that has taken you to this point?
Yes, of course. Thank you again for having me. Delighted to be here with you. And the biggest real estate truly is the one between our two ears, Gary, and it's beyond limitless. The very short version of my story is this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, to be, ever since I can remember from childhood. Much like many, I had my own disempowering stories that I gave too much power to, and I'm delighted to share that story because if I can do it, everyone listening in can do it. They have, your guidance, your fantastic podcast, and your brilliant coaching, of course. And I basically so I went from job to job. I was a flight attendant. That's not in my bio. I was a debt collector. That's not in my bio. I was a mortgage underwriter, mortgage broker. I'm a teacher of English as a second language at a college level in my 20s in Toronto. Yeah. And finally made one decision. And we all know we're one decision away from a completely different life, from complete magic and miracles. It sounds so rah-rah. It's the truth, right? And so I made a decision right before COVID. It was 5 years ago in January that I would retire from real estate and pursue my divine purpose and childhood dream. And here we are. I had been doing it for free, but I actually created, and I'm the founder of Supercharge with Suzan, and through the power of what I teach, the law of attraction and manifestation, I had attracted the #1 RE/MAX worldwide, Gary, that happens to be a Canadian RE/MAX realty right in my city, which they're all over. They're fantastic human beings. They not only filled up all of my spots, they did it during COVID. And here we are 5 years later.
That's incredible. It's one of these, you're absolutely right. And it does sound cliche, you're only one decision away and such, but cliches are there for a reason. Someone didn't just make it up. At some point they have evidence to say, look. Yes, that might be the exception. However, it can and does and will continue to happen, as you go forward. But I'm more interested in the earlier stages of your coaching career. You start just before COVID. Obviously, no one knows anything that's coming.
Yes.
And then you make a leap and you say, okay, I'm all in. What was your thought process as, in March 2020, things start to really, this looks like it's serious. Actually, this looks like it's even more serious. Actually, this is something we've never seen before.
Yes.
How did that go for Susan during that time?
Whoa, I'm great question, Gary, and I'm looking to stop to think back because it was such a. I know I heard someone swear on your thing. I don't know if you. I think if we're allowed,
You go ahead.
Michelle, it was such a shit show that
Yeah.
COVID thing that I think I blocked it on purpose. I think it was traumatic for so many of us, if not for all of us, right? But for me, I'm always great question. At the same time, I'm always looking, Gary, to with the law of attraction, contrast is great. Like you have
Mhm.
a rainy day when you have sunny, like I told you, although I'm from Toronto, I'm in Dubai now, and we get sun every day. That's part of the reason I'm here. And then a couple of days it wasn't, which was apparently not the norm. And I was like, thank God for this also, because then when I have the sun, I'm also so grateful. So it is the power of contrast. Most cave when they're faced with adversity or when there is contrast. I've learned, thanks to the practice of the work, requires something, to actually not only accept it but surrender to it and lean into it. So and also in my what made it easy for me, if I may, although it wasn't an easy time, was the fact that I finally was able to live and breathe my divine purpose. I mean, I wanted to do this from the time I can remember, as I shared. I can't remember how young I was from the time I can remember, and so it was a blessing that I was able to finally practice my divine purpose and childhood dream, if that makes sense. So I'm sure go back and think that, hey, it was a really difficult time. I remember I couldn't hug my own dad, so or see him for a duration, but we've come out stronger, is what I'd like to believe.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
such an introduction to, doing your own journey on your own, on your own path,
Yes.
on your own inspiration, on your own desires and
Yeah.
such. And obviously it sounds like you had a really positive, strong start with getting, the realtors to be able to, it's an industry you're familiar with
Yes.
first, and then the
Yes.
ability to manage and so not manage, of course, we're not managing when we're coaching, but to manage the relationship of your coaching to
Yeah.
help them through what was invariably a very, very troubling time at the same time.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of familiarity there? Did it feel like a natural step for you?
Natural state. I think it made me so much stronger. I love this question. I think to also, this is part of question one that I didn't answer. Thank you, Gary. Is that for once in my life, it wasn't about me anymore. Now I had taken on becoming a coach. So seeing everyone else, like it was my time now to really step up and step into that highest self of mine to actually
Yeah.
serve. Because I haven't shared much of my story, and if it comes up, I'm happy to share the best you. I reached out to you personally. It wasn't my podcast manager, because I love what you stand for, and the name of your podcast is everything I believe in. I look to and practice to live it and breathe it every single day, and through being it, of course, attract like-minded individuals who are doing and being, most importantly, the same or aspiring to be, right? That's what I coach them on, very similar to you. So I think it was more like all my life prior to the work, I was so busy checking out my own belly button, Gary, being in such,
Yeah.
oh, poor me, like victim consciousness, that now that we have access to this powerful work, I'm getting goosebumps. It's so enlightening. It's so freeing to be in my victor self. And everyone listening in, you are a victor, right? And if we are in victim consciousness, we're in the big lie. We basically, as I said at the beginning, I had bought into the lie, the disempowering lie that I don't believe in myself, and I was living it out. And most of us are living it out till our last breath. Of course, not the precious souls that are listening and tuning into your brilliant podcast, because they're getting that there is another way. And once we find out about this other way, is there really another option? No, right? Like, so I think I got busy basically serving is what, yes, I needed that hug and to see my dad or my loved ones, but it was more about, wow, I finally, you realized scratching the surface still 5 years later, but realize a part of my dream, and it's my vision to co-create yours. And now I get to actually not work a day in my life. I'm practicing being a coach, being in my divine purpose, right? My zone of genius, which is, I believe, our gift, yours as well, Gary, if I may, from the creator.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear it explained like that, Susan. Just in terms of, I speak to a lot of coaches. I'm part of a coaching community here in Calgary, and everyone has their own journey to
Yes.
get to where they are, and it's probably as inspired as your journey is. It's not articulated quite as beautifully as you just said there, just in terms of the ability. You're not working a day in your life. You have that opportunity to help. This is part of your journey, to help people as part of their journey. And that's very, very eloquent, very, very inspiring at the same time. I love that. I really do. So in terms of your coaching, as I mentioned at the beginning, you're a manifestation and mindset coach. What are some of the key principles or techniques that you teach or work with your clients on to help them manifest their dreams, their next best step?
Whoa, I love that. And unlike you, I'm not part of a coaching group or community. I don't even have a coaching license or anything. I literally have done so much personal development. So it's a lot of everything. It's like a salad. I've never used that word. And a
Yeah.
la Susan, if you will. It's just however I teach it, which is so fantastic because we know no one has their stuff. It's all recycled, which is fantastic. A lot of my teachings come from the Bible. I always say I don't teach religion, I don't teach theology, and so the step one, I would say, shall we talk about manifestation or a core principle of what I believe and that got started supercharge the steps of manifestation, or we
Completely up to you. Just
should
looking
it.
for a bit of a sense for the listener or whomever's watching to get an idea of what would the journey look like with Susan.
Oh, okay. So that would be step the second one then. Thank you. And hopefully we can get to one if it's divinely. This would be for them, whether they're with me or not, Gary. The number one thing, 99.999% of the population I've spoken to, and I'm sure you can relate as a fabulous coach, is people don't know what they want, right? So the number one step is to actually get to know what you want. Now, this can be a bunch of want lists, but it could also be, and I can go in detail, I can list the 5 things and then go into detail if there's time. So the number one is getting crystal clear on what we want. In the Bible, it says, without a vision, the people perish.
Hmm.
And imagine just, me trying to, take a plane to come see you right now, but I put in LA. I'm never gonna, get there, right? So it's really important to be crystal clear on what we want. Now, that also happens to be the only prerequisite to having it all. Gary, I said at the beginning, I say this on every podcast, on every stage that I get to be on, that I, yes, wanted to be the speaker and coach from childhood. Of course, I didn't have the exact words for coach, I had for speaker. And I wanted to rah people. I've always been told I'm loud, not in a positive way, of course. And I'm like, well, I can use it. God gave me this, strength and power, enthusiasm, right? I'm too bubbly, or I'm too this or too that. I realized this was part of my journey, part of my gift. I accepted that it's not too much for me. I take it, right? And it gets me to serve people, precious souls around the globe. But more importantly, sorry, where was I going with that? So I said, yeah, I wanted to rah rah. More important than rah rahing is what I found from Bob Proctor. He died he passed 3 years ago this time in February, and he was in the movie The Secret. And what I learned from him, this sentence that is going to make all the difference for everyone listening in, is that the only prerequisite to having it all is knowing what you want. I mean, how many of us grew up hearing that or thinking that's even reality? How many people on my free masterclasses worldwide thought that I was a unicorn? They actually said that to me when I said that. Now, there's a caveat to that. We don't get what we want, we get who we're being, which is exactly what we get to work on every day in my mind gyms. So that is really it. So when I found out, well, wait a minute, this is the truth, I'm still going to rah-rah people. But as Zig Ziglar says, motivation is just like bathing. You don't do it for a couple of days, it's going to be a problem, right? And, right? So I do want to still motivate. I have an extreme playfulness, extreme zest for life. My inner child, I just realized today on a walk listening to another podcast I was on, how much the older I'm getting, the more playful I'm becoming, which is such a gift. It's like, thank you, right? So what we really want to do is, now that I know that I can rah-rah, but that's just the little part, but I know that you are the divine. You're literally made in his image. Gary G, right? You are David. You're Michelangelo's David, and this is my job, my gift, my duty, my responsibility to have you know, not here, because all of us know it here, but really have that embodied in your body, in your heart of hearts, in your subconscious, that you are this universe's highest form of creation. You are God's highest form of creation. And if someone is stopped by the word God, I interchangeably use it. Please use whatever works for you, whether it's Gus. I came up with Gus recycled from elsewhere. That stands for God, universe, spirit, infinite intelligence, divine, the divine creator, whatever resonates, right? So that was it. I'm like, what? I better get this message out to the world that they only need to get clear. So first step is take pen to paper and literally write down your vision. Second one is, we don't get what we want, we get who we're being. One paragraph, write out what version of yourself, which already exists, there are infinite realities, do you get to be, to step into, to actually fulfill on that? Because that's, we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are, who we're being, right? And then make a decision. A decision, notice it always comes out because we're each, otherwise it's not going to happen. It's going to collect dust, the vision, just like most treadmills are this time of the year, right? We don't want that to happen. That's a self-image thing. It's not that someone is lazy. They don't see themselves as athletes, so they'll stop. Or you mentioned the Peloton. I used to have one in Canada too. So there's that. After that, now you have your vision, super juicy vision, life by design. If we don't design it, it's designed for us by default. Number one. Number two, self-image. Number three, let's make a powerful decision. We're going to stick to that. And I can give more on the court coaching on that, on how we to apply it. And then number four, let's take a goal. Simplify. The vision is going to be so juicy. It's like, well, what do I do with this now? Let's take a goal that we can actually work on, which leads us to number five, inspired action. It's not, Rome wasn't built in a day. How do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. My goal is to touch all of the billions. I would not be here tonight. I told you this is number 3 of 3 today, but it happens to be 2 of 2 because one didn't work out in LA, right? So I'd still be under the covers from morning because it would be too overwhelming for my old self and for my ego and my paradigms and my mental programming. How do we do it? What? Raise the conscious awareness of our planet one precious soul at a time. It's one conversation at a time with yet another precious soul. So thank you for having me. That's it. Inspired action. Aligned action is number 5, Gary. Does that answer?
That's fabulous, and it's such one of the things that I've noticed with clients over the years is the propensity to get overwhelmed. You mentioned it very briefly there.
Yes.
In terms of, coming and saying, I have for example, like a 10-step program. I don't, but I have a 10-step program and you start here and we will get you there. And for people who don't know what they want genuinely, or think they do, and it actually ends up not being their journey once you start to, peel back the layers, it gets to be confusing and it gets to be overwhelming, where they say, I don't have time for this. I don't have the mental capacity to do this. I don't think this is for me. Thanks anyway.
Yes.
Your 5-step process is very, very simple and very easily understandable as well. Do you get that type of positive feedback from your clients who say, I think I could do this?
100% thank you, and so much compassion for those dealing. It's the human condition. Welcome to the race, to the human race, you all, with overwhelm and all. And it's still not to diminish what one may be experiencing, Gary. When we really get into this empowered state, that requires practice, okay? My drunk monkey only wants to eat, drink, party. eat, drink, sleep. Those are the only things it's interested in. It's me stepping into my spirit soul self, which I am aware is limitless, that I'm getting goosebumps, that only wants to serve. Because who you are is pure liquid love. You are me, I am you. That means I am pure liquid love. Therefore, love is service. Service is love. We get to really have these conversations to make a massive difference for our mankind, which you're already doing so brilliantly, Gary. And I didn't mention the following steps, or there's one more: hire a coach, hire Gary. This is very important. People think of the money most of the time, or the time. The time is going to go by anyway, Gary. And the money,
Yes.
what they are actually saving in aggravation, in frustration, with multi-millions of dollars that they're leaving on the table by not hiring you or a coach that is in alignment, that is really it. So with me, why it's easy is because I hold them to account. I stopped buying my own BS stories, so I won't let them go into story, right? That's huge. Accountability is huge. How many of us grew up thinking accountability was love? Accountability is one of the highest forms of love. Otherwise, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Let me just tippy toe around, not tell you the whole truth so that you don't tell me the whole truth. Well, what kind of workable relationship is that? Right?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
it works because of the accountability, but also we're together in a mind gym daily. Just like
Yeah.
we go and train our bodies with our trainers. I've had a trainer over 20 years. Day zero, I landed in Dubai. I hired one, right? It's the
Yeah.
same. They are with me and I'm training their precious minds. We get to every day. Of course, there's a lot of time off. It gives them time to integrate. It gives me time to supercharge and miss them like crazy. Like next week I'm off and
Yeah.
part of me dreads it. It's like, sending your kid off to school and you're like, no, but I get to be with that and learn
Yeah.
to be without, and they do the same. So it works out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful, talking about training the mind every day. It's ironic we're talking about this today. Just yesterday, I was thinking about that very thing. I think I was listening to a podcast. I can't actually remember. Sometimes things just manifest in your head as you're going about your life, and it was basically, the question was to me, for me, have I taken a day off from my journey, from my development journey, from my ability or my thirst and ability to grow at any point in the last 10 years?
Yes.
And the answer was no, in a very positive sense. It wasn't no, oh my word, I'm exhausted, I really should take a break. Maybe taking a break would get me a bit closer to where I want to be.
Yeah.
It was I was so grateful for the fact that I didn't have, that day off, because there's so much to learn. There's so much energy that I personally get. Sounds like the exact same for you, Susan.
Yeah.
When I'm learning, when I'm growing, when I have that mini aha moment where I think, that's what that meant. I knew I was kind of confused by that line in the book, but now I think I understand where
Yeah.
where they're coming from. So that mental capacity and the mental want, need, desire, thirst, as I said earlier there, to say, I wonder what I'm going to learn today.
Oof.
And I wonder how I'm going to be able to use that.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So energizing. So energizing.
Totally. And it looks like you've created a life you don't need a vacation from that stuff from, which is what we get to really embody and then teach, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's certainly something. If I was taking a vacation, the vacation probably would be to do more of it in a more concerted fashion, rather than saying I need a break from this, because it's certainly a fuel that helps me, move forward and such. So in terms of, just back to your coaching, I'm really interested in the switch from real estate. I know there was more to your journey, but real estate over to your childhood dream, of your divine purpose of helping other people.
Yes.
How has your journey impacted your understanding of peak performance in both personal and professional settings? How has that given you the opportunity to say that there are other levels that you haven't tapped into yet?
Wow. This is fantastic. Um, the awareness, Gary, that's one thing I would really love to talk about. Bob Proctor had said that, and I didn't understand that at the beginning. Is the only difference between you and I is awareness. You and I and someone listening in is awareness. And I always give that example of on my master classes of someone, let's say, who is staying at a five-star resort versus the person who owns it or multiple others, and someone who's cleaning. No one is better, that resort, right? None of us are better than one another. It's the awareness. So I gained the awareness that I am literally a limitless soul, which is quite a thing to wrap our head around, quite frankly, especially when you grew up consciously. I looked like this. I looked like I was very confident. I really believed in myself. I was very positive, but I was very toxically positive. I wasn't really positive, by the way. It was just outwardly, right?
Right.
So when I learned and became, thanks to the work, inwardly so, it's like, whoa, like you realize, just like I said at the beginning of your brilliant podcast, like 5 years ago, before I had started, I thought I was just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible. I said, I'm doing that now. And every day, the older I'm getting, the better I'm getting. And so every day I awaken, and I share this, and I shared this with my Billionaires Club this morning. I said, peak performance, like every day I awaken, I'm realizing how many more lies we've been told. And today the topic was, it's funny you asked, I asked him, I said, what lies are you telling yourself? Because I had caught myself saying something about myself, and I quickly caught it before I jumped on their call. And I'm like, well, inspired by what I just dealt with as a human and caught myself and coached myself through it, are you telling yourselves lie? Of course, if I am, everyone else is. Wink, wink, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the awareness. And what happens, Gary, my goal with all my peak performers and precious souls around the globe is, at the beginning, it's two fish in, let's say, fish in water, right? They're in this small tank. Now they do a couple of years of coaching, or 3-4 years. They grow, they expand into a bigger tank. My goal is, there are some people who've been with me since before the 5 years, since the beginning, like 7-8 years. Imagine.
Yeah.
It was free. They came in, I charged them, they came, I upped the investment, they stayed. Now they're flying. And my goal for each and every precious soul that I get to touch is to actually build wings to fly. We don't want to go into a bigger tank. That's more shackles. Society, culture, media, right? They've put enough shackles on us. It's time to unleash and remove, because you don't need to become anyone new. You're already perfect in your DNA, your perfection by birth, right? All we're doing is removing the layers of the conditioning, chipping away at David, so that we can unbecome. So there's a lot of learning, but most of it, I would reckon and say that it's unlearning.
Yeah.
Awareness. So that gap becomes bigger. The gap of between, sorry. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely it does, and I love that. I've had various conversations with people over time about unlearning, or they say, well, it's not really unlearning, it's reframing, and as long as we're still talking about the same thing, which is moving you closer to where you want to be, where you should be, rather than where you are right now. And I love that the wings analogy versus just a bigger tank. That gives that opportunity. And one thing that's really coming through for me today, Susan, is, especially when you said you have clients, long-term clients. For me, one of the I was going to say frustrations. I don't know that that's the word. One of the things that makes me very curious about the human condition is that people are one of the last things that people, not everyone, of course, but one of the last things that people would invest in is themselves, because they've been conditioned to kind of just figure it out, take some direction from some people, be influenced by other factors in and around their lives, and then just move forward. And by the way, I judged about this many years ago. A good friend of mine says, "Oh, I have a career coach," and I said, "What's a career coach?" And they says, "Well, it's just someone that I talk through my career desires and dreams with, and then we get some action plans to move forward." And I said, "You can't do that yourself." And he said, "Why would I want to do that myself?" And the two of us kind of left the conversation at an impasse, because I thought, that's such an odd thing that you would need if you sit down and genuinely, catalog things with purpose, you
Yeah.
can get to where you want to get to. Because at the time, I had zero understanding of the coaching process and
Yes.
how therapeutic, it's not therapy, but how therapeutic and how expansive and creative discussing it with
Yeah.
another trusted party
Yes.
just brings me these nuggets of gold right, left, and center. So I've done that judging part. So now, fast forward all these years, probably 15 years later, and I kind of think, how does anyone function in life without a coach? You're just leaving so much on the table that's not fair to you, and it's not fair to whomever you're actually sent here to impact over the course of your lifetime.
Yes. Yes. I can say so much
Incredible.
about that. Where do we start? And with all compassion, I this only comes, everything I say only comes from love. I'm here to serve, Gary, and it sounds judgmental, and it truly isn't, but it's going to be confronting for those listening in to what I'm about to say. The same mentor, and again, he's taken his stuff from his mentor, and all of this is proven, and everything I teach is backed up by neuroscience. Bob would always say, only, and I was confronted when I first heard this, so I can imagine how precious souls would feel. Only 2% of the population actually thinks, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. So I've seen that where people just do this for a couple of years or 3 years and they think they're done, or they're going to go on, move into, it's their ego, right? It's their paradigm and mental programming. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about specific people. I have nothing but love, no judgment, right? But there really is lack of thinking, and that's not to cast judgment. That's the human condition. And
Yeah.
we're not thought, that's a big part of what I actually do teach. Because I even said that yesterday on one of my master classes. I said, guys, I don't want to tell you how to think. I want to invite you to start thinking on your own. But we were programmed not to think. You were this super uh, brilliant little 4-year old. 1 minute you wanted to become an astronaut, the next minute you wanted to be a doctor. The next moment you were told to shut up and sit at the corner, or a version of it. Then we had to
Yeah.
line up to get into school. Then we had to raise our hands to go to the bathroom to take care of our biological needs. I mean, we've been in systems, being told how to be, who not to be. You're too much, you're too little, you're too this, you're too that. And our
Yeah.
traumas are enough from childhood. And now we're acting them out in different ways. But the big thing that I found from all those precious souls, one is lack of thinking, 100%. Gary, I'd love to know your thoughts. The other is they're in extreme victim consciousness. They're not even aware of it. It's like the fish in water. They think, wow, I did it for a bit, or I can't because of no money. If you don't have money, that's a good reason to actually hire a coach, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, right? Because that actually shows that the paradigm has been running the mental programming, the show, instead of you are the captain, as I said at the beginning, or it was maybe prior to the recording, actually, right? We're all the captains of our lives. Where are we taking this ship? And why
Yeah.
are you making it drown? Repeating today, almost the exact same as yesterday. Joe Dispenza talks about it, making the unconscious conscious. That's all
Yeah.
thanks to coaches worldwide, starting from you, Gary, that you're literally helping them. You're actually shortening their time. You're allowing them to quantum leap, right? It's too expensive not to hire. Like, just try doing your own dental work, or try,
Yeah.
doing your own. Go fix your own roof, like, and
Yeah.
and that idea that people don't get that is indicative of their lack of thinking, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's such a good way to frame it. I love that, and it's certainly something that I think I'm going to do a bit more research of, just in terms of thinking. Not everyone likes their inner voice, and or their inner voices, I should say, that there are typically more than one. And if sometimes, and especially in the early days when you're thinking, that thinking manifests itself into negative self-talk and negative patterns, negative behaviors as a
Yeah.
result. And that's uncomfortable. And that's something that has a degree of familiarity for some people too. So
Yeah.
then if you try and say, listen, what I challenge clients, students, basically anyone I get an opportunity to talk to,
Yes.
is You know,
Gary.
tell me one thing in your life, one thing, just one that you can imagine in your whole entire existence that you were absolutely brilliant at the
Yes.
very first time you tried it. You know, because people don't like the uncomfortable part of being a novice, being a newbie, being a beginner, you know, those sorts of things when everyone else seems to get it. I'm the only person that doesn't seem to get it. The
Yes.
people that thrive in life are the people that say, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to give it a go and I'm going to see how it goes from there. So when you take it back to thinking, if you sit down and say, I'm actually going to go on a journey of thinking here, I'm going to really do my best to make sure that this is something that I build into my daily practice to make sure that I can use, manifest, and act upon the positive thoughts that will surely come. In the beginning, when it doesn't work out, they just close it down and they
Yeah.
say, I'm not doing that again. That was a bad idea. Let's pick something else to do. So
Yeah.
then the lead in to that of saying, it's not going to be comfortable in the beginning. There's not a perfect way to do this. It's a different size for each and every individual person as you go
Yes.
forward. But let's stick with it. Let's see the fruits of the labor over time and see where it goes from there. But such a powerful topic in terms of thinking. I really do love that.
Thank you for that. And I love what you said there about giving up. I think we're more scared of our power than of losing, right? Part of the reason also is I didn't say it's the paradigms and the mental conditioning is what's having them not join in. But the other is also like a lot of us are sold on the big lie that, hey, my life is great. And we've heard of the saying, good is the enemy of great. I always say great is the enemy of there's juicy. We're literally placed on planet Earth to live magic and miracles every day. How many people have we met who actually believe that? Right? So
Yeah,
they're like good with their great life, but it's really settling, Gary. Like, for lack
yeah,
of better term, it is settling, quite frankly. And it could be
yeah,
very confronting. And I've been there. So I know every day I'm looking to create more epic. As I said, my paradigm only wants to eat, drink, sleep. So I'm quite aware of the human condition. But I love what you said there about, the giving up part. Not the giving up is what I love, but the concept of what you mentioned, like those same precious souls, if they are parents or if they're not them themselves, like they were children, babies, do we ever give up on a baby because it took them a little too long? Do we even say it took them too long to walk? No, you let them, they
yeah,
keep falling down and getting back up, but that precious baby is you, was you.
yeah,
You were born in the perfect vibration. Now, one thing happens, all of a sudden we're out of the game. And I'm too familiar with that, Gary. I don't want to sit here and speak as if, wow, I haven't dealt with it. I've dealt with all of it. That's why I can speak with such determination and conviction, is that humans, we can be taken out by nothing. You could look at me funny during traffic and I may be ready to like cuss you out prior to the work, right? But with the
yeah,
work, you gain mastery of that biggest real estate between your 2 ears, that you don't
yeah,
allow anything to get in the way, because you know that, yes, as humans we're taken out by nothing. It is very challenging to be a human being on one end if we don't do the work. When we do it, the biggest challenge, this is a promise, you're nodding, I hope you know where I'm going. The biggest challenge, my hardest day now is much easier than my easiest days prior, because
yeah,
I have tools to navigate, and I know that I am not my thoughts. And it's not a
yeah,
knowingness only in my conscious, it's a knowingness in my body, in my subconscious. I've experienced it. I've co-created those experiences for others. Therefore, we're limitless souls.
yeah,
And we're not
yeah,
taken out by anything. Not, oh, I don't like the weather today, so I'm going to stay in bed, or I don't feel like being here today, so I'll just call in sick, which is, by the way, the life I led. To be very, this didn't come up on other podcasts. I'm happy to be authentic and share the truth. I mean, I would just
yeah,
make up stuff just to get out
yeah,
of stuff. And now, if the world is collapsing, my clients know this, and it was during COVID, unless there is a predetermined time off that's in their agreement, you will never see me miss a day. It hasn't been in 5 years. It will not be.
yeah,
I'm my word,
yeah,
and whatever I say is going to be done. That's part of my
yeah.
self-image, by the way.
And that's great to be able to lean into and live to that. And I think one of the key messages there, Susan, from everything that you said is that if anyone out there was thinking, I'm in some way intimidated to go and seek out a coach
Yes.
because I don't want the coach just to tell me all the things I'm bad at or all the things that I'm failing at or all the mistakes that I've made in the past. I've
Yes.
already lived those. The one key thing that I try and impress, and maybe as I say this out loud, I don't concentrate a whole hell of a lot of time on it, and maybe I should,
Tell us.
is my life is very similar to everyone else's. Like we will not coach you out of absolutely every single human interaction or human thought or negative situation or circumstance, but what we'll do, and you alluded to it just at the end there, is you have the tools and systems to be able to say not today. So you might have that reaction. It might be a negative reaction. You might be inclined to say something that doesn't serve you or serve the relationship or the conversation at the time. But the timeline of that is vastly reduced because you have much more control now than you did because of the tools and systems and processes that you have put in place as you co-create that with
Yes.
your coach. So, talking about, any road rage type situation or any negative
Yeah.
interaction, those still happen to everyone around us.
Yes.
But whereas maybe I would drive for 35 minutes after an altercation of some description, which, by the way, lasted for 2 seconds of
Yes.
my life.
Yes.
And now I just I'm going to let it go. That person doesn't know me. I don't know that person. We had that unfortunate interaction. I wish them well. I hope everything goes okay for the rest of the
Yes.
day. They don't get in. But the key part is I don't let them get in because I'm too busy doing positive things for
Yes.
myself, for the world around me. So we are human beings. There's no perfection
No.
anywhere.
No.
And the reason that we can have such a powerful co-creation relationship with a client
Yes.
is the fact that, hey, we're living it at the exact same time as you are. That's why we
Oof.
might just be a shade, a tad ahead of you, but not much. And that's why it works so well, because it's a journey.
Oh, thank you for that. That gives me, you created space for me to also be more vulnerable and share more from my heart to make it far from it. In fact, from every master class I teach, I say, guys, this is a zero judgment zone. I live in the biggest glass house. So just because I'm standing here, seemingly, I'm, right on the stage, leading this master class, please don't think that I got it together. Like it's just that the tools really work when you apply them. The work works when you're working them. And if I'm in my
Yeah,
ego and I'm not working them, they don't work, or they work
yeah,
against me, quite frankly, right? But it is really that story. That's where earlier I stopped and I was going to continue. Then I checked in with you. That gap gets bigger of the awareness when we have more awareness. Where there's a bigger space between. There's a bigger space between that first thought of, oh, I want to strangle that person, or I want to stick my finger out, and wait a minute, I have tools. I can come back to my breath, come back to my body. I love how you said, I hope they're well. Send them love. And furthermore, it could be that we were protected divinely from an accident. Like they just, sped up first, and like everything, like is a redirection towards our highest well-being. And if we
yeah,
could just use one of our higher faculties is perception, which is what you used in practice. If we could constantly and consistently use that, Gary, let's say you're standing over there, you're like, no, I can assure you, Susan, it's number 6. I'm like, no, on this side it's 9, Gary, right? And we've seen these go around on Facebook and IG, right? It's like, no, you're right, I'm right, we're both right, but it's
yeah,
from your perspective, right? So if
yeah,
we could just see it, we don't know what that person is dealing with. They could be rushing a pregnant wife to the hospital, right? They could be depressed. I think more, you asked about COVID, and it was interesting that you asked after. And for me, it's like I blocked it. It's like years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, and it feels like it was, right? And thank God it's behind us. With COVID, the aftermath, from what I'm hearing, is brutal on people's mental health. And these devices, like if you see mine, I'm not only on silent, I'm on DND, do not disturb. So no one can
yeah,
get through, and all my notifications are off.
yeah,
Try to catch me if you can, basically. So it's
yeah,
outbound. If I want to catch you, I'll turn it on to get
yeah,
through to you. Because otherwise we're bombarded, Gary, and then there's
yeah,
no room to stop and be with ourselves and actually be a human being, which in our normal vibration, and I use the word normal and that may not work, like in our uh, um, in our normal state, we're actually happy. But how many of us can say that? And yet
Yeah.
that's the secret to the law of attraction. It's to feel joy and to be happy and to have fun. Well, these stuff alone, they are great for what we're able to record this brilliant podcast of yours. And are we using it for us or against us?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But with the coaching clients, also my last thing is we never tell them something is wrong or bad. In the law of attraction, first of all, there's nothing wrong or bad. We look at workability. Is this working for you? And if it isn't, let's get you on the other side, right? That's one. And there's also no failure. I used to think everything I did was bad, wrong, guilt, shame, the lower things on the vibrational frequency scale, right? And then I identified, and most do, and that's why I'm sharing this, Gary. I hope this makes a massive difference, as a failure. Because whatever you say I am, you become. That's the self-image. That was step 2, right? And now I teach my people that we either win or we learn. So there is no failure. And that was one of the biggest lies I think we were taught as children, that, whoa, you got a 5 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10, you're a bad student. No, you're not bad. Please stop comparing, a fish to a bird. Everyone is a genius in their own right and in their own way. I'll stop because I could go on and on.
I do. There's so much to unpack of what you said there. I think one of the things, just to kind of go back to one thing, you really prompted something for me earlier in terms of conversation. And I think, you are what you think you are. And I wonder, what I'd like to actually do is encourage anyone who's listening and watching is think about the types and styles of conversations that you're having in your life. Whether it's a fabulously energetic conversation like Susan and I are having right now, the conversation with yourself, the conversation with your loved ones, the conversation in the workplace if you're working, the conversations in general in your life, and see if those are serving you or something else. I won't put a label on what else it could be,
Yes.
but I think that's an absolute key part, because it all starts from self.
Yes.
And if the conversation I'm having is, I knew this was going to be a failure, I don't even know why I tried, everyone will be laughing at me, and just another one to chalk up to the bizarro journey of Gary, that's a thing. Or I did my best, I did something that someone never tried before, it wasn't for me, I've learned a lot and I'm going to move on and try something else.
Yes.
That type and style of conversation, what serves you and what doesn't. So I think, to almost package everything, if you were going to take one main thing away from this, would be just think about the conversations that you're having, with other people and with yourself, and see if those are serving you. And if not, what are you going to do about that?
Yes. I love that.
Fabulous.
That's fabulous what you just shared. Yes, Gary. That was
Yeah.
very empowering. Thank you for that. And really the fastest hack for us to see what our conversations are is to look at our results. I couldn't stand it when my coaches would say that. My ego would go berserk. I'm like, what? And it's true. I mean, look at areas, let's say your love life is thriving. Look at what your inner speech is about that. Look at what your outer speech is. Look at what your conversations are. Look at how you show up in the world around that. And let's say someone is having a hard time around their body image or money. What do you really say? What are your true thoughts about money or your body? And most of us have been so abusive to our bodies from childhood. It's like, oh, I don't like this part. You wouldn't dare to say that to a friend, right? Or to our own children, we would never dare to say that. We think they're perfection. Well, guess what? If they're perfection, you brought them into this world. That means you're perfect. And I learned that from Bob, Gary, that we really are born in the perfect vibration. We really are perfect in our DNA. There's literally royal blood coursing through everybody listening in, and Gary's body coursing through royal blood doesn't mean there's any less for anyone, because there's only infinite and we're all one anyway, right? And furthermore, you really want to feel this in every cell of your body, in every molecule within you, in every fiber in your body, and that it's no more time to check out our own belly buttons. It's not time. It's time to wake up, Gary. For those that are on the sidelines watching or thinking they can't, It's time to say a different story. And quite frankly, it's not only a privilege to be a human being, it's our job, it's our duty, and it's our responsibility to get on the court and do this work, because otherwise we're going to repeat it for generations to come.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, as you know, this is the Best You podcast with an opportunity and a desire to give everyone an opportunity to become the best version of themselves. What is one regular practice that you employ that enables you to be the best version of you, Susan?
Oh, so I'll give one mental and one physical. I study every day, like the mental work on my mindset. I can't invite people to do it if I don't. And the other is, I believe movement is medicine. So I move
Yeah.
every day. It doesn't have to be crazy athletic stuff. Like, I'm only with my trainer 3 times a week, but I did a 90-minute sunshine walk today. So if I
Yeah.
didn't get, there was a jog on Sunday, trainer yesterday, trainer tomorrow morning. So those are must. I really believe a healthy body resides in a healthy mind, and vice versa. And just like I said, it's our duty for the generations to come and to break the old generational curses and patterns, to do this inner work and the mindset work. I really believe we owe it to ourselves also to take care of our vessel. We're here for a millisecond of time, and to live with vitality is our privilege, but it's also our responsibility and our duty.
Yeah, I love that. So powerful. I'll share a very quick anecdote
Please.
before I let you go
Do it.
today. I had a conversation with an undergrad student, so probably 20 something years old, and the conversation was, I'm not sure what to do next. I could go into the workplace, I could go traveling, I could do something other than that, but how do I make the best decision? So we talked about a decision-making process and just writing it down. What's your desires? What's your wants? What's your needs? What's going to serve you the best right now? But
Yeah.
I left him with an opportunity to think, to say, listen, you've only got the vessel, is the word you used. You've only got one body.
Yes.
And please, for me, actually for you, can you please look after that? Because in 20 years' time, you could still catch up and say, I haven't lived a healthy life in mind and body. I haven't lived a healthy life, but I've still got time to catch up. But it's going to be much more difficult to do that in your 40s and then in your 50s. It's absolutely 100% doable. But
Yes.
why don't you just put incremental practices and procedures and processes and checkpoints in place so that you can just enjoy this thing that you've been gifted?
Yes.
And he kind of blinked a couple of times and he was like, okay. And I said, trust me, at some point in your life, I want you to think back, and there's going to be two major thoughts.
Yes.
One will be, I should have listened to Gary. I understand what he was saying now. Or the other one would be, I'm so glad I listened to Gary. That was sage advice, and I feel better for it. I see other people struggling. Not that we're living a life of comparison, but
No. No.
there's always evidence out there to figure that out. So, movement, absolutely 100%. Figuring out what's good for you, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, giving yourself a push now and again, both mentally and physically, is
Oh,
just absolute gold dust. So thank you for sharing that.
no, thank you. You're so welcome, and thank you. What a difference you made for this young man. I mean, I'm just so overjoyed to hear this. Thanks for sharing, Gary. I mean, I can't imagine where I would have been right now. And this is divinely, and I am elated for where I am. If I had a coach, if I even knew about what coaching, I mean, what a gift you've given him. And now
Yeah.
whoever's listening into you, I mean, really, and maybe one, and may everyone have an abundant long life with vitality, but we don't know if we have tomorrow, Gary. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we better take care of it for us to feel our best, which is also the secret of manifestation and having it all and being our best
100%.
selves. You're the best you.
Definitely. Definitely. I love it. So before I let you go, Susan,
Yeah.
where can people find out more
Ooh.
about you?
That's funny. I was at Supercharge with Susan. That's my
Yeah.
Instagram. And I'll have lots of freebies for whoever wants. Like, they'll know there that I'm having a free masterclass. They're global. I do free lives on Mondays in my private Facebook group. They'll know about the Fridays. I'm doing free lives talking about all of this on my own. If someone wants free coaching, they can get that. and they can find out more about other programs right there on Instagram as well. If they need a one-on-one free call, I will provide that as well, a consultation.
Fabulous. And I'll get all that information in the show notes for this podcast. Suzan, thank you very, very much. It's been such a fabulous energy and a wonderful conversation today. I can't thank you enough.
It takes one to know one. Fabulous energy right back at you, Gary. And it's my joy to be here. And what fantastic coach you are, and fantastic podcast. Thank you for having me.
Hello again. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode, and I do hope that you found it valuable and gained some insights. I do have an ask for you. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would absolutely love it if you would connect with me on my socials, and that's at LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. Just search for my name and do whatever it is you need to do there to follow me and stay updated with all the latest content, tips and discussions. And for any more resources that you're looking for, feel free to visit my website, garygillen.com. And while you're there, you can book a free, no obligation 30-minute coaching call directly with me through the site. Whether you're looking to enhance your performance or tackle a new challenge, I'm absolutely here to help you succeed, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. Thanks very much again, and until next time, keep pushing towards your goals and getting better each and every day, my friend.